5 years ago, I went through a spiritual awakening, and what began as psychedelic exploration and a questioning of the narrative that I was fed by Rockefeller education about myself, about the government, about God, ultimately turned my awareness within. And when my awareness turned within, I found a sense of peace. I found a sense of contentment and calm and serenity within myself that I had always sought from the world outside of me. I had always sought some feeling of comfort, of acceptance, of validation from people, from attention, from food, from a feeling. Hitting vapes and eating Oreos and watching television and trying to fit in with the cool kids. It was all just seeking that same feeling of comfort, of acceptance, of understanding. And ultimately, when I turned my awareness within to myself, not up here, but in my heart, I found I could offer that validation, that acceptance, that understanding, that forgiveness to myself. And ultimately, if I could offer myself one piece of advice as I began my spiritual awakening, is not to look for that validation outside of myself. If I could offer myself any piece of advice to my youth, is to not look for that validation outside of myself, to not look for that comfort outside of myself. Because for over and over and over again in my life, I've constantly sought that comfort, that understanding, that validation from somebody else or from another substance or from another pastry, from anything other than turning my awareness within and doing the work myself. So a lot of people on the spiritual path, myself included, I got caught up in the knowledge. If I could just learn all about Kabbalistic tradition, maybe then I'll be free. Or, oh, you know what? If I really learn about sacred geometry, then I'll understand how the cosmos works, and then I can be free. Or, you know what? Let me read the Bible a couple times over, and then maybe I'll get free, right? It's silly. And when we look to gaining knowledge, gaining wisdom, to get free from our own mind, ultimately we're just digging the hole deeper and deeper and deeper. Because when we go and consume knowledge, what we're doing is we are feeding our ego, right? The spiritual ego is just as real as the ego. It's the same thing. The spiritual ego and your ego are not different. It's exactly the same thing. You, however, are the undifferentiated awareness behind that observes the ego. The ego is the veil by which we view reality through. It is the glasses that we wake up and decide to put on every morning when we brush our teeth, when we check our phone and check our notifications, when we look ourselves in the mirror and relive those same experiences, those same feelings and emotions that we have towards ourselves are projected into that mirror, and we put on the costume of ourself. When I look in the mirror, I say, wow, good morning, Corey. And there I am again, another day on planet Earth. However, the eyes that we see the world through are not so different at all. The eyes that you have, the eyes that I have, they're not so different. Because behind our eyes is the same eye, that singularity. Behind these eyes, there is an eye looking outward on the world, saying, thinking it is the center of the universe. Each and every single one of us believe ourselves to be the center of the universe. And who am I to tell you that you're wrong? When I turned my awareness within and I stopped looking for the world for validation, my life began to transform because I was able to offer myself communion. We go to church when you're a little kid, or if you grew up Christian or Catholic, you went to church when you were a little kid and you worked your way up and got your communion, your confirmation, right? Your communion was something outside of you. When they give you the body of Christ in church, that's your communion. And that puts a sour taste in our mouth. That puts the idea in ourselves that we need to look to a Savior outside of ourselves to feel connected to God, to feel connected to ourselves. We don't need to go to a temple. We don't need to worship this deity. We don't need to do anything. We don't need to take this or take that or learn this, teach that. We can be ourselves in this moment, and that is our divine connection. So as I speak these words, I witness these words coming out of my mouth. I am the witness. I am the observer, the Atman, the undifferentiated awareness that animates my being, that is the essence behind Corey. So as I offer this advice to myself, stop seeking the validation outside of myself, and stop just reading everything and watching these videos and scrolling through Instagram and TikTok and watching these YouTube videos to try and piece together reality, because it doesn't matter that much. Because you can't consume all of this information. You can't integrate all of this knowledge. Now, knowledge is great. And every day I learn. Every day I put my mind into something and I learn. And I'm no greater than these things that I'm talking about. I still teach. I still seek validation. I still consume Instagram content and get stuck in Instagram reels like the rest of us. But what I've learned to do is I've learned to watch myself do it. And I'm not the one always doing it. And when I can take that step back and observe co-reacting and not be co-reacting, it gives myself an elevated perspective. It gives myself an elevated awareness and a new breath of life to go into the world with. Because the validation, the understanding, the appreciation is not from outside of us, it comes from within. And it's not going to be in that next Instagram reel. And it's not going to be in that next beer. It's not going to be in that next cigarette. It's not going to be in any of it. It's not going to be from you telling that story to your coworker. They're telling you, hey, that's great, is never going to fill your cup. Nothing outside of you is going to fill your cup until you start pouring into your cup yourself. Because nobody can get in here. You are the only one that lives in your heart, right? And our awareness, when we say I, our awareness is not here. Our awareness is in our heart. Because we are living as our heart. We are our heart. The singularity. And when you understand how torus fields work and how the energetics of the human anatomy looks, you understand ourselves to have a torus field. And that torus field extends from our heart center. The heart center is that point of singularity. And in the same way that God, the creator that created the cosmos, is a point that is everywhere and nowhere at the same time, as are we. We are that singularity. We are a microcosm of that creator. So when we get to wipe the slate of our awareness clean, and we get to leave the ego in the past, and we get to look upon reality with loving awareness as our heart, and lead these heart-centered lives, reality becomes so sweet. We become so sweet, and we are loving awareness, because at our very core, that is exactly who we are. I am loving awareness. I am loving awareness. And for me, I realized that in college as I began my spiritual awakening. I was very consumed in ancient history and ancient Sumerian tablets and astral projection and meditating and psionics, controlling the elements with my hands, with my mind. And I was less concerned with just feeling at peace in myself. Because when you feel at peace in yourself, the world doesn't affect your brain as much. And we're addicted to our thoughts. We are a victim of our own mind oftentimes. So many of us addicted to our thoughts, and me still. Every day, I think. You can't turn your brain off, but you can make it your best friend. And when I took a step back from all of this so-called knowledge and wisdom about sacred geometry and Sumerian tablets and astral projection, and I started to sit with myself and meditate for long periods of time and just sit on the beach and practice Qigong and look out upon the ocean and contemplate, my world slowed down. And in a way, as we go through the spiritual awakening process, we're just trying to make the world slow down a little bit. We're trying to feel at home. We're trying to feel accepted. And it's difficult when your brain chatters all the time to know that each and every one of those thoughts are accepting and validating. It's almost impossible. It's almost all of your thoughts are going to be self-doubt if you have a constant chatter in your brain. But when you can slow the brain down, those thoughts become pleasant because you become present. If you slow the mind down, your thoughts become pleasant because you become present. I would listen to Ram Dass for hours. I've listened to hundreds of hours of Ram Dass speak, of Ram Dass, of Alan Watts, of Terence McKenna, but specifically Ram Dass. And listening to him speak as an awareness and not as an ego has ultimately allowed me to find that place within myself. So although there is no reason to seek that validation outside of ourselves, we can set others as inspiration. We can idolize others. I would idolize Jesus. I would idolize Ram Dass. I would idolize Krishna, right? If we can idolize the people who are holy, who are pure, who are self-realized, and lead our lives with them as our mentors, because every single person you you read and listen to will live through you. Every person that you consume will live through you. So you have to decide who you'd like to live through you. Do you want random internet personalities like Jake Paul or Tana Mongo or one of the Barstool guys to be living through you? Or would you rather those self-realized beings, the enlightened ones, the ones that love every second of their lives, that lead divinely present existences, to lead their life, for you to reside within their energy? So don't seek validation outside yourself, and be mindful what you're consuming, because what you consume, you become. You are what you eat, but you are what you read as well. You are what you listen to. You are what you watch. So pick great mentors. Pick the mentors that you would want to be remembered like. So thank you so much for hanging out with me. I make all sorts of videos on spirituality, spiritual awakening, consciousness, self-realization, all of the sorts. And my spiritual awakening has been a beautiful unfolding and peeling back of the layers to see who I am at my very core, a creative being in a creative world, but ultimately this undifferentiated, loving awareness, and to be able to lead that way through my life every day has been a gift. And it's a pleasure to be here with you, hanging out. So thank you so much for hanging out with me. Click subscribe, watch one of those next videos. So much love, so much peace, and namaste.